The President, please be seated. The court is now back in session. We shall then proceed with the questions by counsel for the civil parties. You may now proceed. Counsel Tisrina. Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Mr. Sot Tung. Before we broke, I put a question to you whether you saw Dutch meeting with Nuon Chea at the office where he worked or not. Can you tell the court whether you have seen this or you just don't remember? Response: I have never seen them meeting together. Question: however, this morning, the co-prosecutor asked you a question concerning the letters you got from Nuon Chea to Dutch and got back from Dutch to Nuon Chea. Could you please clarify on this? The difference, indeed. The response: there is no difference in this. Question: I think I have to rephrase the question whether you knew Dutch very well or not. Response: I know him very well. Question: during the time when you brought letters from Nuon Chea to Dutch and from Dutch to Nuon Chea, had you ever seen both of them meet? And if so, how often? Response: no, I haven't seen them meeting one another. The President, Counsel Son Arun, you may now proceed. Counsel Son Arun, Your Honors, I do not think I understood the questions put by civil party counsel. She asked about the letters, whether they was sent from Nuon Chea to Dutch and from Dutch to Nuon Chea and how they meet. I just feel that the question was not really well put. The President, indeed, counsel is advised to make sure that the question is put in another way, that it is more precise. Tisrina. Thank you, Mr. President. I would put it this way. When you had been working as the messenger and that you were tasked with bringing letters from Nuon Chea to Dutch and from Dutch to Nuon Chea, had you ever seen these two people meet one another discussing some work? Response: I don't know, and the reason that I said I don't know because I had never been close to them, and I don't know what they could have been talking to one another. Question: is it fair to say that you used to see these people had meetings? Could you please wait until you see the red light on the mic before you proceed with your response? Response. I used to see him or them only when I sent the letters or brought the letters from them, and I did not know whether the two people met face to face. Question. In your capacity as a messenger, when did you start delivering letters from Nuon Chea to Dutch and from Dutch to Nuon Chea? Response. I start doing this in 1978. I had to do this in just a short period of time, too short to remember the details. Question. Before 1978, had you ever noted any conversation or contacts between these two people, Nuon Chea and Dutch? Response. No, I don't know. The President, Counsel for Inquiry, you may now proceed.
President, I just wish to point out that this series of questions has already been asked and answered several times in a variety of ways. The answer doesn't change. Now, I suspect at some point they may be asking for more time. Well, this is a good way of wasting time by asking the same question over and over and over again. The gentleman indicated his answer. Counsel should be told to move on.
The President, it is the right of party to object, but the objection should also be grounded by reasoning. Counsel Tisrina, I wish to respond to Counsel Canavas. The reason we put the same questions because we feel that the statements made earlier by the witness have not been clear, so we need to seek clarification. Mr. President, objection by Counsel Canavas is sustained. If Counsel keeps putting the same questions, it is obvious that we know the questions are repetitious, although you tried other ways to put the questions. Witness indicated very clearly that he did not have any knowledge of the meetings between Dutch and Nuon Chea. In Khmer, it is at least precise to get. Could you then move on with other questions, because you can have this floor until the afternoon first break. Question. Do you recall you have given statements on the 4th of December 2007 and the 7th of December 2009? Or do you recollect the statements you made before the co-investigating judges? Response. I don't recall those statements. I did make some statements. Question. Since you have not recollected the statements, I may help to refresh your memory by referring to the statement you made on the 2nd of December 2009, document 234/23. Mr. President, this morning the document was already provided by the co-prosecutor to the witness, and I would wish to know whether I am also supposed to provide the document to the witness again. The President, if the document is already provided to the witness, the only thing you need to do is to provide the court with the ER numbers in 3 languages. That would suffice. And this document should also be presented to the witness to help him be on the same page. Counsel Tisrina, Mr. President, with regard to the EON numbers, I will proceed as advised later. Counsel Tisrina. The point that I wish witness to clarify is document under ERN in Khmer 00408434 and in English 0041591, in French 00414587. Question item 34. The question was put in this item, and do you maintain your position? Could you please wait until you see the red light before you proceed with your response? Witness, indeed, I still maintain what I stated in that document. The next item, say Counsel ERN 00408437, English 00414595, French ERN 0043815. Question item number 64. The question is, how was the situation of the people working there? You stated that I saw them working very hard. I think that it was the sector committees who forced them to work that hard. Do you still stand by your position? Response. Indeed, I stated as it reads in that statement, they worked rather hard. Response. So it is fair to say you maintain your position. Is that correct? Response. Yes. Question. On item 65, when you were asked, through your understanding, they were working very hard, was because the sector committees forced them to, or they forced people to work hard because of Mr. Nuon Chia's visit. And then you responded by saying that when Ta Nuon Chia went there, he instructed people to work hard. But when Ta Nuon Chia left back, the sector committees forced people to work even harder. I know that Ta Nuon Chia planned to provide people 3 meals a day and 1 dessert per week. But the cooperative chiefs and sector committees did not follow the plan. Because he saw people becoming skinny, he went to visit closely at cooperatives. For my forces, who were soldiers, we had rice 3 meals. So rather, we had rice or 3 meals per day and a dessert per week. But ordinary people did not get as what had been planned because the sector committees did not follow the plan. Do you still stand by this position? Response, yes, I do. It is correct. I may now move on to item 66. Question. Did Mr. Nuon Chea ever blame cooperative chiefs and sector committees in charge? And you said, at that time, he called them to study at his criticism meeting. Do you still stand by this statement? Response, yes, I do. Question. Do you still recollect whenever the study sessions or criticism sessions conducted, where were they held? Response. We were called to the meetings once every 1 or 2 months to attend these criticism sessions where we were refashioned. Question. Were the meetings conducted in Phnom Penh or in the areas where Nuon Chea would visit? Response. So far as I remember, the meetings were in Phnom Penh. Question. Is it correct to say that Mr. Nuon Chea knows the situation of the people in the location and in the cooperatives?
Objection, Your Honor. That's a leading question.
The President, witness, could you please hold on, counsel? You may proceed. Repeat your objection.
That's a leading question, Your Honor. I object to it on that basis.
The President, objection is sustained. Witness is advised not to respond to a leading question. Question. After the criticism meetings, did Nuon Chea take any measures regarding the people in these sectoral committees? Response, I don't know. Question on item number 71 reads, excuse me, I'd like to present the EN in Khmer first. 00408438, English 00414596, French ERN 0043815. Question item 71. Did you ever hear that at that time people died of starvation or overwork? And you responded, yes, I used to hear that people died of starvation and overwork. Do you still stand by this statement? Response, yes, I do. Question. Are you aware that the leaders could have been familiar with the situation? Response. I think they could have been aware of this. As leaders, they should have been informed. Question. On the same page, question 72. When you went to the Eastern Zone, what did Mr. Nuon Chea do there? You responded by saying that Ta Nuon Chea met with Thao Phum in that year. Do you still stand by your position? Response, yes, I do. Question, then, do you still recollect that Nuon Chea met with Thao Phum, and when was it? The last encounter. Response, no, I don't remember. I couldn't remember it. Question. I would like to also move to Eon and Khmer 00408441, English 00414591, French 00434819. Question 101. How many forces did normally escort Mr. Nuon Chea to do this work? This is the question back then. And you responded by saying that, as mentioned earlier, there were about more than 10 forces, at most 15. And the following question, question 102, how many people were assigned to escort Mr. Nuon Chea to meet with Tamok? You said 14. And you also restated the same position before the co-prosecutor yesterday. Before I proceed to the next question, may I ask whether you still maintain your statement as it is? Response, yes, I do. Since I do not remember things very well, I stand by that statement. Question. Could you describe the security situation back then in the Khmer Rouge regime that made you have to escort Nuon Chea on every visit to the cooperatives? Response. As a security guard, we were vested with the duty to provide security or protection to our cadres.
តើលោកអាចដឹងឬទេថាតើ
Question. Can you tell the court what is the justification before people could ask for security guards? Response. For people in the regiment, the division and the ministers, these people were entitled to have close protection. Question. Are you aware of how Mr. Nuon Chea administered people or things? Response. We were obliged to respect the organizational discipline, and we were told to keep secret, and we only knew things we supposed to know, and that's all. Question. Can you tell us the work regime in those years and the Mr. Nuon Chea characteristic? Response. He was a normal person. Question. I think I may need to repeat. What kind of power Mr. Nuon Chea had during the regime as opposed to your power and rights? Response. He did not have strong power. He just educated people normally, did not use any violence against any of us. Counsel. I would like to proceed to the next question. Document under ERN 00408445 in Khmer, English 00414604, French 00434322. Question 144. Rather 43. Regarding Angkar, who was the leading cadres, who were classified as leadership cadres? You said Angkar was Pol Pot and Nuon Chea. Angkar referred to senior leaders. Do you still stand by your statement? Witness, could you please repeat that statement? Counsel, question 143. Regarding Angkar, who was the leading cadres, who were classified as leadership cadres, and you said Angkar was Pol Pot and Nuon Chea. Angkar referred to senior leaders. Do you still stand by this statement? Response. I think the question is correct, but the final part of it is not fully correct because Angkar could have been referred to Pol Pot and Nuon Chea, not senior leaders. Counsel Tisina, so you would agree that if the statement were to be shorter, like Angkar was Pol Pot and Nuon Chea, then that would be the correct statement, and then you stand by it. Is it so? Response: Yes, indeed. I prefer the first part of the statement, not the remainder of the statement. Counsel Tisina: Thank you, Mr. President and Your Honors. I have no further questions to put to the witness, but I would like to hand over to International Counsel.
Yes, you may proceed.
Oui, bonjour Monsieur le Président, bonjour Mesdames et Messieurs les juges.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, Your Honors, ladies and gentlemen, and good afternoon, witness. Before I start my examination of the witness and to be at ease in the time allotted, may I request the Chamber to grant me 15 additional minutes because I fear I may run out of time. And if it is possible to confirm that, I will be able to assess the number of questions I have. Thank you.
Your request is granted. But please try to avoid repetitious question, leading question, or questions that may invite the witness to provide his conclusion or assumption.
Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will endeavor to do my best. Witness, you have been examined for almost 2 days, and you may think that we are revisiting points that have already been covered. If I do so, it is because I would like to enhance some of the answers you've given and to add some details. It is the details and clarifications that witnesses provide that would enable us to understand what happened between 1975 and 1979, and that would also enable the Cambodians to understand what happened. So all details are important, all testimonies are important, and your testimony is particularly important. Please bear with me if my questions may bother you, and I thank you for the details that you will provide. I am obliged to go through each period. I will review what you said on each of the periods. You said that in 1975 you started your revolutionary life in Ratanakiri. When you were in Ratanakiri, did you happen to see any of the accused persons, even from afar?
Response: I did not know.
Est-ce que vous connaissez, Monsieur,
Did you know Mr. Clanfit in Ratanakiri?
No, I don't know.
Est-ce que vous connaissiez déjà
Did you already know Mr. Kami in Ratanakiri?
Kami, I did not know. I do not know which Kami you are referring to, but I did not know the Kami in. I only knew Kami at Y10.
de celui-ci que...
Thank you.
Merci. C'est bien de celui-ci que je parlais.
That is indeed the person I am referring to. You then went to B20 To the best of your knowledge, can you tell us on what date you left Ratanakiri to go to B20?
Response. I could not recall that because back then I was still very young. And I could not read either. I simply follow others to Phnom Penh. I did not even know Khmer language.
Est-ce que vous pouvez au moins donner l'année?
Can you at least tell us what year that was?
Response. It was in 1968. I could only remember the year.
Vous avez dit hier que vous étiez...
Yesterday, you said that in 1968 you were in a youth mobile wing. Can you confirm that?
Response. Yes, I maintain this statement. I was then staying with the mobile group. So we were on mobile. We were transferred from here and there. But the mobile unit at that time was differently defined from that mobile unit at the later date.
Et qu'est-ce que c'était que l'unité mobile en 1968?
What was the mobile youth wing like in 1968?
Response. It was not the mobile unit actually, but it was like a child unit. But we were moved from one place to another. We were still young youth at that time, and then we were moved from one place to another. But we were not in the mobile unit.
Merci.
Thank you. Regarding B20, was it subdivided into several bases?
I do not know. I only knew back then that it was Office B20.
Est-ce que le nom Li Keng, alias Khan, vous dit quelque chose?
Does the name Li Keng alias Khan ring a bell to you?
I do not know. There were many peoples and many names at that time, so I cannot recall.
Est-ce que à B20, vous avez vu même de loin?
While you were at B20, did you see any of the accused persons, even from afar?
I did not know because I stayed there for a short while.
Vous m'avez dit tout à l'heure que vous étiez...
You stated a while ago that you arrived at B20 in 1968. For how long did you stay there?
No.
It was a long time ago. I can hardly recollect it. I came to be 20 in 1968, The, it was quite. I am being confused now because in 1968 I came to B20. Then I went to a unit which was tasked to transport ammunition and foodstuff. But I cannot recollect it well because there were many events that took place at that time, and we were sent back and forth, and I can hardly remember it.
Ce n'est pas grave.
That is fine. You stated that you transported food and ammunition by truck from the region of Kampong Cham to Kampong Chenang. Is that correct?
That is correct.
While you were transporting such materials, were you part of a military division?
Back then, I was in one unit under the supervision of Takri. It was actually a transport unit.
À l'époque, est-ce qu'on vous a expliqué
At the time, were any explanations given to you as to why you were transporting ammunition?
We were fighting against the Tribunal administration and the American imperialists.
les camions et les bateaux que vous utilisiez à l'époque?
Were the boats and the trucks you were using at the time Cambodian?
Yes, they were Cambodian, but the trucks were the Chinese-made trucks. But the boats were Cambodian-made boats.
Est-ce que vous compreniez pour quelle nécessité il fallait transporter?
Did you understand why you had to transport ammunition to Kampong Cham and Kampong Chenang in late 1974?
We had to fight against the Tribunal soldiers, and we had to try to seize Phnom Penh.
Est-ce que vous pouvez essayer de vous rappeler exactement sur quelle...
Can you try to recall exactly in which period you transported ammunition and in what year that was, and when you stopped transporting such ammunition?
I cannot recollect it well, but back then it was sometime in 1974. It was in 1974 because 1975 Phnom Penh was liberated. And I was not the person in charge of a regular transportation of ammunition and other stuff. Actually, there were many others.
Est-ce que le bureau B5 vous dit quelque chose?
Does Office B5 ring a bell?
I don't know.
J'en viens à votre arrivée à Phnom Penh.
Let us now talk about your arrival in Phnom Penh. Where were you on the 17th of April, 1975?
I stay in K7, and my direct superior was Gu.
Est-ce qu'on vous a parlé à l'avance?
Did someone talk to you in advance, explaining an evacuation plan for the towns?
That was not my business. I was an ordinary person, so I was not told or shared with any information.
Merci.
Thank you. Did you know a little earlier that you were going to leave for Phnom Penh?
Actually, they did not tell us in advance. When we had to move, then we moved.
Et qui vous a donné à vous l'ordre de...
And who issued orders that you should go to Phnom Penh?
Back then, Dim ordered, and then when I came to Phnom Penh, I met Pong.
Merci. Vous avez dit...
Thank you. You stated that when you arrived in Phnom Penh, or while on the road to Phnom Penh, you came across people trekking. Who were those people? What kind of people were they?
It was a bit difficult to answer that question because those people who marched out of the city, there were males and female citizens, and if you ask me for the categories of those people, I do not know, and I do not know them. If I try to answer that questions, then it would lead me to speculating that, because I did not know those people who move out of the city. And again, if your question deals with minor details of the situation, I did not know. But if you ask about the leaders, I would be able to answer some of the question. And I do not remember many things because it happened long time ago. I was not a journalist, and I am not a historian either, so I could not record any history wherever I was asked to do things, and I would mind my own business. If you ask me for the minor detail, I could not answer the question, and I find it quite confusing. And if you keep asking me for the minor details, then probably I may not be able to provide you the consistent answers. Then it may lead to speculation. The President. Yes, witness. Just try to focus your attention on the question put to you. You do not have to elaborate further. If you cannot recall the date or the event, then you just say so. That should be it.
Monsieur, est-ce qu'il y avait des vieillards?
Witness, were there elderly persons among the people you met?
Elderly people, how old were they, are you referring to?
Peu importe.
That is not important. I will move to another question. Did you observe that there were soldiers monitoring those people?
I did not see soldiers except the resistant fighters, and those resistant soldiers, they were guarding around important offices within the city.
Merci.
Thank you. Did you discuss with your road mates what you saw, that is the people you saw on the road and who are leaving Phnom Penh?
When I, of course, came to Phnom Penh, I did see people marching out of the city. There were a lot of them.
Est-ce que vous en avez discuté avec vos compagnons?
Did you discuss that with your companions?
No, I didn't.
Quand vous êtes arrivé à Phnom Penh, est-ce que vous...
Can you very quickly describe to us what you saw in Phnom Penh on your arrival?
I cannot describe it because I do not know where to start from.
Est-ce que c'était une ville normale ou est-ce que c'était...
Was it a normal town or a town in chaos?
Yes, at that time it was in chaos, and people were, of course, leaving the cities, and there were soldiers, and it was not in order, actually.
Merci.
Thank you. You said on several occasions that from mid-1975 up until when the trip to China was organized, that is between August and September 1978, you were with Nunchia. You were his guard. Can you tell us why you were appointed his guard?
At that time, there were a roster for the security guards or close protection to guard the leaders on his trip overseas. So there must be a representative from our security team to accompany the leaders outside the country.
Est-ce que vous pouvez nous dire un...
Can you tell us in greater detail what your functions as a bodyguard consisted in on a daily basis? I am referring to your assignments as a bodyguard.
I did nothing important. Actually, I simply came to guard the compound and If I was asked to go and play sport, I would go and play sport with others. Otherwise, I would sit or stand guarding the office. I did not do anything important.
Merci.
Thank you. There were many of you who were bodyguards, and you have stated that when Mr. Nunchia went on trips, there were more than 10 people guarding him. Does that mean that he ran some kind of a risk when he was traveling?
When was it? When he went to China, or in what particular situation? Can you clarify that?
Je parle de toutes les situations.
I am referring to all situations, since he was always surrounded by bodyguards when he traveled, including Peking. What I want you to tell us is whether his life was in danger and so he had to be guarded.
Response, yes.
And what was the danger?
Response. We were asked to be vigilant. For example, there could be some kind of danger when cars collide with one another and attacks.
You also explained that you had visited the area of Battambang in 1976 and 1977. And you spoke about the people who were working in the rice fields. And the people working in the rice fields, were there only people from the countryside?
Response. They were mixed people, perhaps peasants and those who were from the city.
And how did you know that there were people from the cities as well?
Response. I just presumed because Phnom Penh city was empty and these people could have been from Phnom Penh. The President interrupts. Since it is now appropriate time for adjournment, we will take a 20 minutes adjournment. Court officers are now instructed to ensure that the duty counsel and witness be taken to their room and have them returned to the courtroom.